This is Disneyland in Anaheim, California. The park is split in several distinct sections, and despite them being quite literally right next to each other, while in one of these themed sections, you'll never end up seeing the backside or into another land in an immersion-breaking way. This key technique and other used in the creation of Disney parks are actually just as important in one of video games' most taken-for-granted fields, environment design. So let's take a look at how environment art in video games can actually take a few pages out of the theme park design handbook. Before going all in and completely decorating a park, theme park designers first help out with the park's outline and setup. One of the first things they help out with are the streets that guide guests between different areas of the park. And even with this seemingly mundane task, they have a few tricks they use to start the environment design process. A lot of the time, theme park designers will lay out theme park streets and walkways in a zigzag or back and forth pattern. The reason for this is to prevent guests from seeing too far ahead, thus allowing more time for the designers to properly transition one theme to another. This zigzagging also gives the impression of an uncanny or unexplored area, thus helping the guests feel like they're really exploring an area. In this outline phase, theme park designers will also start considering horizon lines. To block any outside view of the park or to prevent any theme clashing with a different area of the park, designers will make artificial horizon lines or block horizon lines completely in order to fully immerse the guests and make them feel like they are truly in a fantasy world. Some of the best examples of this are Disneyland's Buena Vista Street and Galaxy's Edge. Buena Vista Street has an artificial horizon line through the use of this large perspective painting, making it seem that the road continues forever. And Galaxy's Edge completely blocks horizon lines through use of these massive alien rocks, giving the impression of being on another world. To show how these tricks can be applied to environment art, I will be designing an environment from scratch using these techniques. So I have my drawing here, depicting the overall outline of the environment. Notice the continually curving road to guide the player. And look at the areas I have marked as large rocks to block the player's view from the horizon line. I'll just quickly go in and with some simple textures and cubes, quickly outline what I think it should look like. Alright, that's a pretty good outline. Let's now move on to how theme park designers get more down to the nitty-gritty and detailing of the environments in their theme parks. Once the general outline is done, theme park designers will consider how they can use details and set pieces to direct the guests through the park, helping them visit all the different areas and rides even without giving them a proper map. One of the best ways to do this is with large, overshadowing set pieces. This kind of goes against the whole horizon blocking technique from earlier, but basically designers will set up large set pieces that usually are so tall you can see them from anywhere in the park. The best examples of this are Disneyland's Space Mountain or Matterhorn, or one of Six Flags' large sky-reaching coasters. These large structures are used to attract guests from everywhere around the park to itself. And by having a few of these dotted around a park, you can ensure that once a guest has visited one large attraction, they can easily look at another and treat it as their next destination. To use this in my environment, I will make this little cave area bigger in order to guide the player. I will also set up a big hill on the other end to also guide the player as another large set piece. Park designers also love to use a visual trick in these large set pieces called forced perspective. Simply put, forced perspective is the illusion of making something seem further away or closer through a variety of visual tricks. Disney is very famous for using this technique in all of their Disney castles. They intentionally make the top of the castle progressively get smaller and smaller to give off the illusion to the viewer that the castle is actually much taller than it realistically is. This technique is actually much more common than you might think in video games today. For example, in the popular first-person shooter Overwatch, a lot of its distant set pieces are actually not as far as they might seem. The proportions are intentionally shrunken down in order to give off the illusion of distance. In my own environment, I will intentionally shrink some of the distant boulders and trees to give off the illusion of far distance without having to worry about actually making them far away. Another very popular theme park trick is the use of the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is used in all sorts of design and art projects, but if you don't already know what it is, it's essentially the process of dividing the height and width of your view into 3 distinct areas. Then, by using where the lines intersect, artists and designers will strategically place the subject of their work on those locations, because for some unknown reason we humans find visual comfort when we see things laid out in this way. The best and most impressive demonstration of this in theme parks, if it already isn't going to be obvious, is Disneyland. If you go to a Disney park, you will notice that almost no matter where you look, each area you look is framed almost as a painting, with the subject or most eye-catching piece located on one or more of the intersecting lines in the rule of thirds. A game that uses this technique a whole lot is Skyrim. You'll notice when playing that almost everywhere there are subjects placed perfectly lined up with these intersecting lines to give the player a better visual experience. To use this technique, I'm going to shift some of my set pieces around to make them better align with the rule of thirds. With the large details of theme parks out of the way, let's discuss how designers use props and smaller details to bolster their theme parks and experiences. Now obviously, theme park designers want to place each prop in its corresponding land. For example, animals in the animal section and space props in the space section, so on and so forth. But one of the most important ways props are used in an area is making unique spaces. To help give guests better visual clarity and better memory of an area and its layout, designers will design themed areas with even smaller themed areas in mind by using uniquely themed props to make each general area unique. Pretty much any theme park uses these tricks, but in order to give us a break from looking at Disneyland, let's look at Six Flags. In each surrounding area that encircles a ride, the designers have created each prop and building correspond to the same theme as that ride, in order to give it distinct and memorable qualities. This even goes as far as using different colors and lighting in different areas to give off a better effect. This is all over video games, but let's take again a look at Overwatch. Notice how on the map Gibraltar, the map starts in this outside area, but even here there are distinct sections. Like in this small building, the lighting changes and the props change from the typical grass and rocks to lab materials and computers. And as the map progresses, it transitions into this larger inside area, distinctly defined by its large overhanging ship and crate boxes scattered around the area. To use this in my own environment, I will make the first section have a larger variety of field plants and reduce the number of trees, to make it less of a forest and more of a valley. And in the second area, beyond the cave, I will add a plethora of trees, and even add a little encampment and a small lake to enhance its uniqueness. Clearly, a lot of techniques used in theme park design are just as useful and important when it comes to video game design. It's a very strange crossover in comparison, but I hope you can see some value in learning some of theme park's greatest tricks. I hope you've learned something and have found this entertaining. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you around. Have a fantastic rest of your day. See y'all.